Scraps, and this is Lunchtime Live, episode 121. For those of you who are new here, Lunchtime Live is my video newsletter, so I'll start by telling you everything that's going on at Stitches and Scraps, and then we end every episode with a special feature of some kind. Now, last year I was doing a Stitch of the Week. This year I've changed it up a bit, and I've got a different special feature every week of the month. So last month we had our featured product of the month, which I'm going to touch on again later. And then this week we've got our featured charity of the month. So that for this week is going to be Warm Up America, and we'll be talking a lot about that at the end of the episode. But first I want to tell you everything that's going on at Stitches and Scraps. Now, if you're new here, look in the description on this video on YouTube, and you'll see a link to a blog post. In that post is a list of everything I plan to talk about with all the links. So if I show you a pattern or a tutorial, or tell you about a tutorial that you want to go find so that you can make the pattern, you'll find that list, you'll find that link at the link in the description on the video. So take a look at that, and with that being said, let's just jump in and get started. If you join in, say hi in the comments so that I know you're here. We are going to start with the new blog posts this week on Stitches and Scraps. First was a tutorial for garter stitch short rows, and the second was a good morning, Beth. It's good to see you. The second was a new knitting pattern. So this that uses those garter stitch short rows. So this is the Wild Winter Balaclava. I know it doesn't look like much when it's flat, right? If you go to the blog post, you'll see it on. I'm not going to put it on because I'll get makeup all over it, but let's stick my hands in and kind of show you. There we go. That opening goes over your eyes. So it's like a hat, and then it covers your face, basically. And I know we're actually having very warm weather this week, which is funny because we had frigid weather over the holidays, and then this week it's gotten so warm that you're not going to wear something like this. But the cold weather's coming back, I'm sure of it. And it's so warm and soft. Hi, Mary. Good morning. How are you guys doing? How was your holiday? I hope you guys had a good holiday. So the yarn that I used for this is called, and this is where I got the name Wild Winter, but the yarn is called Safari. It's from King Cole. It is not one that I have in my shop, but it's so cool, right? They sent it to me to play with, and this is what I made with it. And I still have all of this left. Like, I could make 2 of these and still have yarn left over, I think. I have to check the actual measurements, but I think so. And the cool part about this is it works up, and the reason it's called Safari is it works up in these animal print type stripes. I mean, they're not exact, no animal is actually these colors, but work up in that kind of stripes. You've been in the 70s and 80s recently? Yeah, I know. It's like the minute I design something for really cold weather, it gets really warm, right? That's just the way it goes, but it'll get cold again. So I want to show you the yarn a little bit close up. This is it's a single, it's not applied yarn. So you can see that it's just one single, well, is it plied? I think it's a single, but you can see it's just fibers together, right? It might be a core spun actually, now that I'm looking at it. Sorry, I'm geeking a little bit on the spinning here. Yeah, I actually think it's a core spun. Look, it has a core thread in the center there. And then, oh, let me back that up a little bit. There we go. It has a core thread in the center. Do you guys see that black thread? And then all the fibers are spun around that core. But it's basically got a very soft and fuzzy feel to it. So it's really lofty and light. And this whole thing is just so light and smooth. And you want to be careful with what yarn you use next to your face, right? You don't want to put a bargain acrylic all over your face. It'll just be smothering and itchy. But this is really nice, and it is it is 100% acrylic, but it's soft. It's not that stiff and scratchy acrylic that you think of, right? So don't go for a bargain yarn for a pattern like this. You want to go for a yarn that's got a little bit of softness and silkiness to it so that you're not scratching up your face. But anyway, so beautiful yarn. I loved working with it for this. and that is the knit balaclava, the Wild Winter balaclava, and this is the short rows. So right here you see how I've got this triangle shape. That's done with short rows. So I worked to here and then back, and then I worked to here and then back, and then I worked to here and then back, and then you go farther out. And that actually, I think I started in and then went out and then came back in. But that gives you this triangle shape, and because it's in garter stitch, it's really easy to do. And that gives you a little more space in the opening so that it doesn't climb up into your eyes. The ribbing sits nicely on your nose without trying to climb up and touch the top layer of ribbing, right? Okay, so that's the knit balaclava. Check it out. I am working on a new pattern. This is from last week when we did our sorry, my phone is ringing. I forgot to turn it on silent. Let me just turn that off. Okay. And I think that might be a call I needed. I am looking at adopting a dog, and I've been waiting to hear back on one of the dogs, and I think that might have been the call, so I'll have to call them back when I'm done. But this yarn, this was our featured yarn from last week from Global Backyard Industries. This is the Cherry Blossom sock yarn. It's hand dyed. It's a beautiful wool and nylon blend sock yarn. And there's a coupon. So if you missed last week's episode, go back and look at last week's episode. There's a coupon to save on this yarn in that episode. And it's not quick. It's all the way, like the whole last half of the episode, that coupon is up on the screen. So go check that out. Great yarn. And here is a sneak peek. I'm only going to show you a peek at what I've made with it. Ready? That is a beret pattern that's going to come out next week. I'm going to call it the Cherry Blossom Beret. And I'm going to have a tutorial just for that center circle part that has that cherry blossom flower in it. And then the rest is pretty simple, your typical hat type of pattern. So that is going to come out next week. I'm going to try and do a couple sizes. I'm going to see how it goes when I write it up. I've done an adult size. I'm going to try and do like a larger size and a smaller size as well, in case you want to make it for kids. But it's a beautiful pattern. It actually works up remarkably quickly. And again, I have a lot of leftover yarn, so I could do something else to coordinate with it in that yarn. But that is coming out soon. That'll be next week. And the only other thing I've really been working on is I've been doing some spinning. So I have to show off my spinning because it's been a while since I've done it. This is what I've done this week, just with leftovers that were lying around. So these were singles that I had spun weeks and weeks, probably months ago, maybe even a year ago, that were just sitting on my rack and I needed to clear the bobbins, so I just plied them together. One of these, actually all of these, I'll just say it fast, all of these are random samples that I've picked up at the Spinning Guild meetings that I'm in, and maybe some random leftovers from other projects. So this one had a green and a white, and they're pretty thin. If you look, this yarn is pretty thin. I'm going to compare it with the sock yarn. You can see it's thinner than the sock yarn, so it's definitely like a lace weight yarn on this one. This one is similar, maybe slightly thicker. Oh no, it's actually thinner. Okay. I tend to spin a little thin, you guys. So let's find a nice loop of this. This one's a little underplied as well too. I think I could have plied it tighter, but I didn't want it to be like wiry, you know? So this, compared to the sock yarn, that is definitely smaller. I might use this actually for embroidery. And then this one's fun. I had gotten a small bag of brown stuff. It could have been yak, it could have been buffalo, it could have been bison. I'm not exactly sure what it was. It was some exotic blend, right? I want to say it was like buffalo or bison or something like that. But it was super downy. It was like a cloud of just down. And it wasn't really sticking together well. So I spun it along with some other brown wool random wool that I had maybe BFL, I'm not sure. And then I plied it with the same white stuff that I used in this. So a very thin, wiry white ply with that thick, poofy, fluffy brown stuff. And it came out with this really nice, soft yarn. I'm guessing I have like 100 to 200 yards here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. This one's a little thicker. This one's more like a DK weight, maybe. So yeah, some fun new yarns that I made. And that's pretty much what I have been up to this last week or so. Oh, I was going to show you the label for that yarn here. This is the cherry blossom yarn. This is this yarn that I'm using for that beret. So it's 85% merino, 15% nylon sock yarn, and the cherry blossom is the colorway. So yeah, definitely go look at last week's episode if you missed it. You want that coupon code. So with that being said, what's left to talk about is Warm Up America. That's our featured charity for this month. So Warm Up America, okay, first of all, you guys know that I am in the Crochet Guild of America. I'm actually the president this year of the board. And we do a lot with Warm Up America. Every year we do a chapter challenge. And the chapter challenge is basically like, let's see all the chapters who can make the most stuff for a specific charity, right? Several years we've done Warm Up America as our charity for that because it's just such a great format for a group project like that. So what is Warm Up America? Warm Up America basically collects all sorts of knit and crochet stuff for to give away to anybody who needs it. Okay, so it's a very broad organization. They give stuff away to things like veteran service facilities and hospitals and shelters for women and things like that. So like domestic violence shelters, that kind of thing. So they give stuff away. Actually, I've got a list here. Hang on. I pulled some stuff off of their website. So they collect, first of all, Afghan blocks. So this is kind of their signature item. It's not squares. Most of the time when you're doing Afghans, like those, everybody donates a square kind of Afghan, they're squares, right? Well, Warm Up America does rectangles because they found that 7 by 9 inch rectangles can be put together into the dimensions that they prefer for blankets. So they have on their website dimensions of different sizes of blankets. You can get adult blankets, child blankets, baby blankets, lap blankets, all different, the little throws, all different types of blankets on their website. And they're all based on these 7 by 9 inch squares. So you can make full blankets and donate them. They love when you donate full blankets, but they'll also take just however many squares you make. So if you get a group together and you make like 500 squares, you can send them in. If you make 10 squares, you can send them in. You don't have to have a full blanket for it. I'm pulling up actually the list that I wrote in my post because it's a little different than the list I have in my notes here, and that was my fault. But okay, so the way the squares work, if you send in just the squares, what they do is they collect boxes of 500 squares. So they'll take your squares and add it to a box until they have 500. And then they have volunteer, and this is another way you can help out, they have volunteer joiners. So you can send them money to cover the shipping and they will send you a box of 500 squares that you can then join into blankets of whatever sizes they need or whatever sizes you want to do. You can then either ship it back to them or you can donate the blankets locally. That's one thing they really encourage is you can make stuff and not worry about shipping it to them and not worry about those shipping costs or the time involved in distributing everything. You can just take it yourself and give it to a local charity and just let them know. They have a form on their website that you can fill out and say, hey, I donated, 3 hats and 10 sweaters or not sweaters, but baby sweaters, 3 hats, 10 baby sweaters, a couple scarves, and a blanket to this charity. And they'll add that to their tally in your name, and that way they can keep track of what's been donated on their behalf, which just makes so much sense rather than having to collect and warehouse everything. But they will do that too. So there's so many ways you can work with them, right? So the things that they collect other than blanket squares, because they also collect other stuff, they collect, let's see, did I put it in here? Okay, so they collect finished blankets, so blanket squares, finished blankets, all sorts of cold weather gear, so scarves, hats, gloves, that kind of thing, and then baby clothing. And they donate these wherever they find a need, so like shelters, hospitals, veterans facilities, foster care programs, and other, local outreaches. Their idea is to touch all the different communities. So that's one of the things where they encourage you to donate yourself, because then stuff gets into your community and everybody's community can benefit. But wherever there's a need, when somebody asks them for stuff, they will send them the stuff, whatever they have. Okay, it looked like I lost my connection for a second. I'm sorry. How much got cut off, you guys? I don't know why. My program just bailed on me. All right, am I back? Can you guys see me? All right, I'm not sure where I cut off, but basically, great charity to work with. You can donate stuff locally. You can donate stuff to them directly, and they'll distribute it. They take blanket squares, finished blankets, warm weather gear. Beth, do you know where I cut off? I don't know how much I missed saying it, but I'm going to repeat myself anyway. So they donate this stuff to all sorts of shelters and, domestic abuse center, violence prevention places, foster care places, veteran services, all the different, basically if somebody asks them and has a need, they're going to find a way to help. And so you can send them all different stuff and they'll take care of it, or you can donate it locally on their behalf. Fill out a form with the information of what you donated, and they'll track it that way. And that way they can reach every community. They can reach your community and every other community out there. And they're really, the last thing I said before I realized that I had cut off was that they're really wonderful to work with. And they have resources on their site. If you want to plan like a group event, like that chapter challenge that we're talking about, they will help you with that. Okay, good. You didn't miss too much. All right, well then I repeated myself. Sorry about that. But they will help you plan events. If you write to them, they'll give you some pointers, because they've done lots of different events and they work with people all the time. They actually just wrapped up a Hallmark promotion where they were working with Hallmark on a special Hallmark logo square to make Hallmark wrapped in love blankets. I think that's what they called it. But that promotion just ended over the holidays, and they do stuff like that throughout the year. So go check them out. It's warmupamerica.org, I believe, but I know I've got the link in the post. If you go to the description on this video, you'll see a link, and it's got all the information there. The other thing I wanted to point out is the blankets make great group projects, right? Because you can do just a square each. They're also great as a teaching tool. So if you're teaching a learn to knit or a learn to crochet class, you can have everybody make a blanket square to donate, right? Like it's a 5x7 square. It can be a basic stitch. So you can teach them how to make the square and then donate it as part of the class, which makes a great learn to crochet or learn to knit class, especially when you're working with kids too. Because if you've got enough people that'll come together, like you've got a whole classroom, you could actually have them put together a whole blanket, like a baby blanket or a bigger blanket, whatever you've got, and send it. Yes, 7x9 squares. Did I not say 7x9? Okay, they're 7x9. If I said something different, I apologize. But they are, it's just a great project to work with a bunch of people on. And you can make other stuff. It doesn't have to be blankets. You can make hats together. You can make scarves together, and you can donate it wherever you want to. So lots of love for Warm Up America. Definitely look into them. And that's all I have for you today. So does anybody have any questions on any of the stuff I showed you? Otherwise, I'm going to just go ahead and say bye. I'll wait a minute because I know there's a lag. Okay. So anyway, thank you for joining me. It's always fun to see everybody when we do this. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will hopefully see you guys next Thursday. Bye.